Hi, this is Luann with Rockin' Book Reviews, and I'm here today with our charming and exciting and fun Kourtney Jason. She is a publicist and she owns her own publicity and marketing company. Um, Tell us where you grew up and what were some of your passions?
Hi, Luann. Thanks so much for having me. I grew up in Northern California, in the Chico and Sacramento areas. I've been in New York now for about 13 years, but I still think, I've got that California sunshine in my soul. As for like hobbies and passions growing up, I spent a lot of my childhood as a competitive cheerleader. So I do think, that having that energy has stayed with me my whole life. And I grew up reading, but not necessarily books. I loved magazines as a kid. I think at one point I probably had 10 different magazine subscriptions. And I think to this day, my mom is still, she influenced me with the love of magazines. And I think to this day, she's still, single-handedly keeping the industry afloat.
What was some of your favorites?
Oh my gosh, I loved it was all teen girl magazines, right? Like all celebrities, pop culture. So it was 17, YM, Jump, Teen People was around for a couple years. Yeah, it was the end of the month was my favorite time because that's when all of the subscriptions would come in the mail.
Fun. Okay. When you began your advanced career education, you went into journalism. Is this because you wanted to do work in the magazines or what? Why did you go into journalism?
It is. I loved writing and I really loved seeing my name in print, like seeing my byline. As in my early 20s, that was, what was the thrill of my career. So I honestly didn't actually even know that magazines could be a career path until I got to college and I took a magazine writing course. But I joined my high school newspaper, and I worked for my college newspaper as well and studied journalism. But I knew that the daily deadlines of a newspaper newsroom, like that wasn't where I wanted to be. So once I realized like magazines was a career path, like that was a light bulb moment for me. And I knew then that my goal would be to get to New York to work for magazines.
How fun. You don't look like you're more than your early 20s now.
Well, thank you.
So you have a very impressive resume. Besides being a journalist, you are a writer, an author, a publicist, and representing some very impressive people. Share with us a few highlights of your various career opportunities.
Oh, sure. So I've worked for a couple different publishing companies in New York. And like I said, I worked in magazines first in New York. So I've been on red carpets. I've covered movie premieres. I've interviewed stars for movie press junkets, which is a funny story. One time I was at the Empire State Building and I was covering the press junket for one of the Percy Jackson movies. And I had just finished interviewing the cast and I was walking towards the elevator, got in the elevator, and Pierce Brosnan gets on the elevator with me.
Man.
And he looks directly at me and says, "I could really go for our martini now, shaken, not stirred," and then gives me a wink. And I was just like, I froze. Like, how do you even respond to that? It's James Bond. Like, so that there's just like moments like that you're like, how is this my life and how is this happening to me? Later on in my career, when I started working in book publishing, I've been to the Today Show. I've been in Studio 1A with Savannah and Hoda, and it's, Kelsey Handler and David Schwimmer and Tony Hale are all sitting next to you in the green room. And you're just like, what? How? I'm here at 7 a.m. This is very early, but it's just so much fun.
So how do you keep your cool from being so starstruck?
I'm sitting in the corner texting my mom like, oh my God, you won't believe who's here. How is this happening?
I would be too. Okay. You are the president and co-founder of Pacific and Court Book Publicity and Marketing. Okay, who are the other co-partners?
So Pacific and Court is a sister company of Ulysses Press, which is an independent book publisher with offices in Northern California in Berkeley and here in Brooklyn, New York. They've been around for almost 40 years. Their 40th anniversary is coming up. And they originally started as a travel publisher doing like hidden Hawaii and various travel guides before expanding into other nonfiction genres. So I previously worked in-house at Ulysses Press for 6 years, managing their PR department. After that time, like loved the company, loved the people, but wanted to seek out new opportunities and new career challenges for myself. So I moved around, went to a couple other PR agencies, and through the pandemic of the last year, I had been freelancing for Ulysses, and they reached out and had the idea of, hey, why don't you start your own PR and marketing agency? Like we'll be your sister company, we'll support you, but you'll do the day-to-day operations, get the clients, do that. So it was just an opportunity I couldn't say no to. We have there's 4 of us on the co-founding board. So it's myself, as well as Keith Riegert, who is the Ulysses Press publisher, Bridget Thorson, who is the director of marketing and operations, and Casey Vogel, who is the director of editorial and acquisition. So the 4 of us were not just colleagues, but we're true friends. And it's just the best team to have. There's so much support and just feeling so safe in truly starting this company from the ground up and doing it together.
So hasn't there been any conflicts or anything?
No, not at all. It's just been,
Sure.
It's been even more, successful and more fun than any of us could have imagined. And we just got new office space here in Brooklyn. So we're all eager to, be back in an office working together again.
Oh, fun. Okay, and I noticed that a lot of them of your staff is affiliated with Ulysses Publishing. Not heard of that. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so like I said, they've been in publishing for almost 40 years. It is a family-owned and operated company. So Keith's dad, Ray Riegert, and Keith's mom, Leslie Enriquez, originally started it as a travel publishing company, writing most of the books themselves. So they would just go travel around the world, really live like locals, and put together these incredible travel guides. And through the growth and success of that, they would add more people to the company team and started expanding what they published within nonfiction. So the 40th anniversary is coming up just in a couple years. So I think we'll have, a big celebration for that. And it's just a wonderful, wonderful team.
I'm always glad to learn of new publishers. Okay, why is it important for an author to have a good publicist?
Yeah, so I think it's really about having someone that can be your hype person. So a publicist is going to really know how to present you the best to the media in terms of how to position your book, how to position your bio, how to really pitch you as an expert to media. My background is primarily working with nonfiction authors. So I do think there's such a service to that of really providing information and expert ideas to really help people, whether it is, health and fitness and cookbooks or mental health, self-care. It's such a collaborative relationship that I think, it's so great when an author can come with ideas to the table, but also work, have a brainstorm with the publicist and really figure out what the best way is to get you and your book out there.
There's so many people on LinkedIn and so forth that are advertising as a publicist and as editors and so forth. So how does one go about knowing which publicist to get and how do they persuade the publicist to represent them?
So honestly, it's kind of like dating, you gotta have a few dates to figure out who the right person is. You want to have, trust in the relationship. You want to make sure that there is a connection, that, you both feel, that there's a comfort in the relationship, that there is a connection, that, okay, this person gets what I'm trying to do. And I understand what, what message you want to get out there. yeah, and then I think you just have to have a couple calls, like interview a couple different publicists to see, you know, who has the right energy fit that you want to work with. I mean, communication is important, honesty is important, and like just the general excitement. Like, I want to be excited about who I'm working with, and I want them to be excited about working with me, and having those things will make it a much more positive experience for everyone. And I think that in turn relates to the success of the campaign as well.
So I know that you have a special giveaway for us.
I do. So we're going to put together a collection of a couple books from Ulysses Press. Some of my favorite cookbooks. We've got a Trader Joe's cookbook in there, the Little Women's cookbook, and I think XOXO, a cocktail book, and Build Your Own Rom-Com sort of quiz adventure book.
How fun. And who doesn't like cookbooks?
Exactly.
Do you have any final comments before we close?
Well, thank you so much for sharing my story and my company with your audience. I hope everyone will check out pacificandcourt.com and find us on social media at Pacific and Court as well. And I hope to hear from any authors that have some books in the works.
And I can personally recommend you. You have been such a delight to work with and so much fun. And
oh, thank you so much.
Right
back at you.
All right. And we are hoping that all of you will search the universe through books. And goodbye now.